السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. We continue inshallah ta'ala with Surah Az-Zumar, and we'll just take two verses, verse number 6 and 7. So open the Mus'haf inshallah. We'll start with the recitation. Repeat after me for correcting the recitation. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. خلقكم من نفس واحدة ثم جعل منها زوجها وأنزل لكم من الأنعام ثمانية أزواج يخلقكم في بطون أمهاتكم خلقا من بعد خلق في ظلمات ثلاث ذلكم الله ربكم له الملك لا إله إلا هو فأنى تصرفون. إن تكفروا فإن الله غني عنكم ولا يرضى لعباده الكفر وإن تشكروا يرضه لكم ولا تزر وازرة وزر أخرى ثم إلى ربكم مرجعكم فينبئكم بما كنتم تعملون. إنه عليم بذات الصدور. The translation of the ayat: He created you from a single person, then made from him his wife, and he has sent down for you of cattle 8 pairs. He creates you in the wombs of your mothers, creation after creation, in 3 veils of darknesses. Such is Allah your Lord. He is the kingdom, La ilaha illahu. How then are you turned away? If you disbelieve, then verily Allah is not in need of you. He likes not disbelief for his slaves. And if you are grateful, he is pleased therewith for you. No bearer of burdens shall bear the burden of another. Then to your Lord is your return, so he will inform you what you used to do. Verily, he is the unknower of that which is in the men's breasts or hearts. So this ayah, خَلَقَكُم مِّن نَفْسٍ وَاحِدَةٍ, after what's mentioned before, but the fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the creator of the heavens and the earth, so therefore he's the only one worthy of worship. And we were talking about the intercession and how the Surah Az-Zumar is, many verses are used in the surah for the evidences of the Tawheed and the Shafa'ah, when the disbelievers, they claim that they worship these idols, these images, to take them as intercessors to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So one of the clear evidences of the Tawheed of Allah, خَلَقَكُم مِّن نَفْسٍ وَاحِدٍ, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created you from one soul, created all of you, خلقكم, with all of your differences in race and your speech, and your colors, all of the human beings created from one soul, which is Adam عليه السلام. ثم جعل منها زوجها, and he made for Adam عليه السلام his wife, Hawa عليه السلام. You know, this is a meaning that has been established in the Quran in more than one place. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة. The verse that we hear every Jumu'ah. O mankind, fear your Lord, be dutiful to your Lord, the one that created you from one soul. That means you're all the same. There's no difference between one or the other. You're all creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So all of you worship Him alone subhanahu wa ta'ala. خلقكم من نفس واحدة ثم جعل منها زوجها. It's all by Allah. So that means He's the only one worthy of worship. وأنزل لكم من الأنعام ثمانية أزواج, and He brought down to you from al-an'am. Al-an'am are the cattle, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created them in ثمانية أزواج, 8 pairs. And these are the ones that are mentioned in Surah Al-An'am. من الضأن اثنين ومن المعز اثنين ومن الإبل اثنين ومن البقر اثنين. From the goats 2, and the sheep 2, and the camels and the cows. So it's all by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He's the one that created them for you. وَأَنزَلَ لَكُمْ. He brought it down for you. So they're created for a purpose, like everything else. So, and it's for the human beings to benefit from them and to eat their meat if they say Bismillah and they slaughter them in the right way. So this is by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. يَخْلُقُكُمْ فِي بُطُونِ أُمَّهَاتِكُمْ خَلْقًا مِنْ بَعْدِ خَلْقٍ. He creates you, He created you in the wombs of your mothers, creation after creation. That means you're going from one stage to the other, and it's all creation of Allah. And it's each stage is a creation by Allah. If a person sees it, it's independent creation of Allah. The stages that are mentioned in the Quran with the creation of the human beings, the nutfa, then the alaqa, then the mudgha, and so on. في ظلمات ثلاث, in 3 darknesses, in 3 veils of darkness, which is the darkness of al-rahim, the womb of the mother, the darkness of al-mashima, or the placenta, as they say in the tafsir, and the darkness of the stomach itself, being inside. As Abdullah ibn Abbas and others, they say that. You know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made the human being like this, in that stage. ذَلِكُمُ اللَّهُ رَبُّكُمْ. This is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, your Lord, the one that created the heavens and the earth and what's in between. And He's the one that created you and created your fathers and forefathers and so on. He's the Lord of the Alameen. ذَلِكُمُ اللَّهُ رَبُّكُمْ لَهُ الْمُلْكِ. The mulk, the sovereignty, the kingdom. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone, and none is given to anyone. No one has any power except by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. La ilaha illahu, therefore there's no one worthy of worship except Him. فَأَنَّ تُصْرَفُونَ. How can you be turned away from this? How can you worship other than Allah? Ibn Kathir rahimahullah, he said, أَيْنَ يَذْهَبُ بِعُقُولِكُمْ. Where is your reason, where your intellect is going? When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made you as a human being, made you unique from all of the creation of Allah, is this aql, is this ability to make reason. And how can you then turn away from the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone? When He's the creator of the heavens and the earth, He has the dominion of the heavens and the earth. He's the king, He's the one that is able to do all things. So therefore, la ilaha illahu, there is no one worthy of worship except Him. The matter is so easy, so simple, and still many people, they still follow the traps of shaitan by associating partners with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So as Imam Sa'di rahimahullah, he explains, and with the creation of the human beings and giving them all kinds of favors and benefits for them to establish their life on the face of earth, and how He created them. This is your Lord, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the one that deserves to be worshipped. So do not worship anyone but Him. And take this verse and see the verse that we talked about, verse number 3 and 4, about those who would worship other than Allah, and they would say, مَا نَعْبُدُهُمْ إِلَّا لِيُقَرِّبُونَ إِلَى اللَّهِ زُلْفًا. They say we do not worship them except that they would get us closer to Allah. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala called that shirk. That negates La ilaha illallah. So how can someone be turned away from these clear evidences? Where is their mind? Where is their reason? As if they lost their mind when they would worship other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the Lord of the Alamin. And the next ayah, إِن تَكْفُرُوا فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ غَنِيٌّ عَنْكُمْ. If you disbelieve, after all of these clear evidences, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the most rich. He does not need your ibadah. He's in no need of your worship. Even if it's all of you on the face of earth. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, إِن تَكْفُرُوا أَنْتُمْ وَمَنْ فِي الْأَرْضِ جَمِيعًا فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ لَغَنِيٌّ حَمِيدٌ. If you disbelieve, you and all of what the people on the face of earth, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the Ghani, is the most rich. He does not need anything from you. And He's the one that receives the perfect praise. As Ibn Kathir rahimahullah, he mentioned in the tafsir of the verse, the hadith in Sahih Muslim, the hadith Qudsi, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Ya ibadi, my slaves, لو أن أولكم وآخركم, if the first among you and the last among you, وإنسكم وجنكم, and the human beings and the jinn, كانوا على أفجر قلب رجل منكم, they were all upon the worst and the most wicked heart of a man ever. All of them in the level of wickedness of the worst man ever. They're all the same level of wickedness and evil. ما نقص ذلك من ملك شيئا. That would not decrease or take away or diminish any of my mulk, my kingdom, my dominion from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Nothing whatsoever. They do evil to themselves. And at the same time, وَلَا يَرْضَى لِعِبَادِهِ الْكُفْرِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not pleased for His slaves for them to be upon disbelief. He does not like for them to be upon it. He does not love for that to be upon, and He does not command them. And this is it happens by the permission of Allah, the universal permission, versus the religious permission or the religious love. And that's, once you understand that, because a person would say Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not pleased for people to be upon disbelief, so why does He just make them believers? Right? This is where the creation is all about. Nothing happens except by the permission of Allah. This is that He permitted for people to make a choice. He permitted for the human beings to have the ability to choose whether to be good or to be evil. So the evil that is established on the face of earth, it's part of having a will, having a choice, that a person will be responsible and will be held responsible for their decisions. And that explains, or some of an explanation of why there is evil on the face of earth. Because this whole subject of the human beings, they have a will. That's why there has to be evil, because they have a will. And they will be held accountable for their will and their decisions. But as far as what pleases Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the religious pleasure is the al-iman, the faith, and He's not pleased with those who disbelieve and associate partners with Allah. وَإِن تَشْكُرُوا يَرْضَهُ لَكُمْ. And if you're grateful, He will be pleased with you for that. And that's why al-kufr here, disbelief, what is the opposite of al-kufr is a shukr. So the believers that are grateful to Allah, because they worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone. The disbelievers, they're not grateful to Allah, even if they say it, even if they claim it, because they don't worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or they don't worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves from you to be grateful to Him by worshiping Him alone. وَلَا تَزِرُ وَزِرَةٌ وَزْرَ أُخْرَى. And no soul shall bear the sin of another. Right? Everyone is responsible for their actions. And that does not deny the fact that people would help one another or intercede for one another, but as long as they are upon the state of al-iman, the state of the tawheed, the oneness of worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. ثُمَّ إِلَى رَبِّكُمْ مَرْجِعُكُمْ. Then to your Lord is your return. فَيُنَبِّئُكُمْ بِمَا كُنْتُمْ تَعْمَلُونَ. He would inform you of what you used to do. إِنَّهُ عَلِيمٌ بِذَاتِ الصُّدُورِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the all-knower of what's in the breasts and the hearts of the people. So as you see clearly in these verses that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the most rich, He's not pleased for people to be upon the disbelief, and therefore he prepared punishment for them in the day of judgment. And the shukr to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the tawheed of Allah, is the worship of Allah. And he does not harmed whatsoever by the actions of those who disbelieve and are ungrateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as a result of their disbelief. When we look at the words, خَلَقَكُمْ, he created you. And al-khalq comes from initiating, and initiating in the right way, not just initiating anything. Right? Al-khalq has in it that it's created and it's made, in the way that it's created for. Right? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala خَلَقَكُمْ, he created you. Min, from nafsin wahida, nafs, soul. Nafs is a soul and refers to one's being. Right? So خَلَقَكُمْ min nafsin, and the nafas is the breathe or the breath that a person takes. Min nafsin wahida, from one soul, one single person, which is Adam alayhi salam. ثم, then جعل منها, then he made from that one soul, from that one being, زوجها, its mate. And you see also that when you see the creation of Allah, everything is by the wisdom of Allah. He did not create Adam and Eve at the same time. He created Adam alayhi salam, and then he created Eve, or his wife, his mate. He created her for him. So, and that's why the responsibilities are given according to this and according to how there's differences in their creation. And this is a meaning that we need to be well established following the way the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. Both males and females to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they are the same. They get rewards, they receive punishments. They're all creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And in this world, the way they interact with one another, right? Men are in charge of the women. The wife is devoted to her husband, and the husband is extremely kind to his wife. This is how life is. This is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants from us. So when people, when they talk about, even the words might be explained in a nice way or a negative way, the subject of partners, as if they are both competing with one another. This is not the way that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants from us. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants our households, our relationships to be accordingly. The men, as the Prophet ﷺ commanded them, استوصوا بالنساء خيرا. Be extremely kind to your women, extremely kind to them. And the wife is what? Is devoted to her husband, devoted to him. She's obedient to him. Her life is about her husband, the first one that has rights upon her. After Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is her husband, more than her parents. And the husband is extremely nice to her. This is how perfect the relationship is. What if he's not being the best? She is fulfilling the commands of Allah of being devoted to him, not in sins, of course. Otherwise, and of course also in one's capacity. And the men are extremely kind to their wives. And to turn out, and this is how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created them. ثم جعل منها زوجها وأنزل, and he sent down لكم, for you. That means they came from above. من الأنعام, from the cattle, from nun, ain, mim, and it's come from even the word the ni'am, the bounties of Allah. They're called an'am because they're one of the bounties of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. ثمانية, 8, from fa, mim, nun, azwaj, kinds, males and females, as we heard. يخلقكم, he creates you, from خلق. في بطون أمهاتكم, in the butun, in the wombs, from batn, which is the stomach and what's inside, and the wombs. أمهاتكم, your mothers, from alif, mim, mim. خلقا, creation. من بعد خلق, from after, من بعد خلق, after creation. And you see the mothers are mentioned, and we know the rights of the mothers, and the mother has even more preference than the father. So it's not about just men versus women and men are better. It's not the case. It's different occupations. So who is the one that deserves the best or the one that has more rights on the woman is her husband. And the man, the one that has the most rights upon him is his mother. So when she's a mother, right, and there's a mother and a father, the mother is to be taken care of even more than the father, right? So this is now reference to the women versus the men. So it's different occupations that people need to realize. And the same person, she's a mother and she's a wife. She's devoted to her husband, and her children are commanded by Allah to be kind to her, and so on. في ظلمات ثلاث, in ظلمات from ظا لام ميم, darkness, and that's also the ظلم, the wrongdoing is a form of darkness. ثلاث, 3 of them. ذلكم, this is basically Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, ربكم, your Lord, له الملك, to him is al-mulk, or the dominion, from the same 3 letters. And the mulk, or the dominion, that means he's able to do all things. He's the owner of all things, and he's the one that has the authority for people to obey and to turn to. La ilaha illahu, there's no ilah, there's no one worthy of worship except him. And the ilah, as we know before, is the one to be worshipped with perfect love and perfect submission. فَأَنَّا, anna is then how, is a question that gives to how can someone, as a way to be, how surprising that is. Tusrafun, turning away, from sarafa, turning away. Sarf is to turn something from one state to the other. That's why even the sarf, changing the money from one currency to the other, they call it the same thing. So tusrafun. Then in takfuru is a conditional statement. If you takfuru, if you disbelieve in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, commit shirk and so on, فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ, then indeed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, غَنِيٌّ, from the same 3 letters, he's free from need. No need whatsoever. He does not need anyone. غَنِيٌّ عَنْكُمْ. عَنْكُمْ, which means he is free from need from you. عَنْكُمْ, غَنِيٌّ عَنْكُمْ. وَلَا يَرْضَى لِعِبَادِهِ الْكُفْرِ. So we're going by the وَلَا يَرْضَى, and he's not pleased for you. وَلَا يَرْضَى وَإِن تَشْكُرُوا يَرْضَهُ لَكُمْ. And if you're grateful, he's pleased with you. From الرضا. وَإِن تَشْكُرُوا, again, يَرْضَهُ لَكُمْ. يَرْضَهُ is pleased with you. وَلَا تَزِرُوا, تَزِرُوا from واو ذا را, bear, carrying. Al-wizr is the sin. So wazar also is the place where when a person is saved in. So and al-wizr is the heaviness that a person would carry. So وَلَا تَزِرُ وَازِرَةٌ, no one bear the burden from wazar, heavy thing. وِزْرَ أُخْرَى, the wizr of someone else. ثُمَّ إِلَى رَبِّكُمْ, then to your Lord, مَرْجِعُكُمْ, then to your Lord is your return. مرجع from رجع. Then he would inform, فَيُنَبِّئُكُمْ, then he will inform you, نَبَأ, بِمَا كُنْتُمْ, with what you used to do. And as you see here, the clear benefits that we learn from these verses, the rububiyyah of Allah, the lordship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that is the clear evidence for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to be the only one worthy of worship. And some of the details of these creation of Allah, our creation, how He created us, the fitrah, the pure nature that He created us with, and put aside these foolishness of the human beings. They go against their own pure nature if they are away from the revelation from Allah. So how He created us and what that signifies, and how people need to be obedient to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the favors of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala upon us. This is your Lord, the one that has the dominion of the heavens and earth. No one has the right to legislate for the people. No one has the right to change anything that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created. He's the one that is the Malik. He's the king. He's the sovereign. And that's why they're still given a choice, but they will be held accountable for their actions and their choice. They should choose to accept that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is al-Malik, is the sovereign, is the king of all kings. But how can they receive the commands of Allah? Through the revelation from Allah, through the wahy revelation from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And those who do not follow that, they lost their minds. They are the foolish ones, because how can they turn away from the clear evidences of the Tawheed? Also, the benefit that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is in no need of anyone. Everyone is in need of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The fact that to be obedient to Allah, that means you're grateful to Allah. And the more you are obedient to Allah, the more that you are grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The great principle that nobody will bear the sin of another. And everybody shall return to Allah, and everybody will be informed of what they used to do. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one that knows best what's in the hearts. So worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with what's in your heart, and to show Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala what is best. Barakallahu feekum. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward you. I hope everything is clear. And we'll continue inshallah ta'ala tomorrow. Wa sallallahu wa sallam ala Muhammad wa alihi wa sallam. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.